Hey folks, we are back again with another episode of CalfKickSports. As always, I'm joined by Tim, and today we have the champ in the house, the LFA flyweight champion of the world. And believe me, this guy will be the UFC flyweight champion of the world. Bank on it. Charles InnerG Johnson, man. How you doing, mate?
Doing good, man. Nice to meet you.
How's things going, man? You still reeling off that victory, a few months ago against Motta?
Things are going pretty slow, not as fast as I would like. I like to jump right back into something. But now we're stuck in politics, so I'm just kind of focusing on myself, focusing on training, staying ready for whatever gets thrown at me.
Man, I mean, I was gonna say, yeah. So we're friends with Josh Augustine, yeah, and he had so much nice things to say about you. He was like, yeah, man, Charles is a really good dude. In fact, yeah, I've actually trained, with Brandon Moreno in Denver, and Charles will take out Davison. He'll take out both those guys, man. I just wanted to ask, man, what do you think of the fourth matchup being made?
I think a lot of it, but I think they're going down the same rabbit hole they did before, the UFC I'm talking about, where you have a lot of talent in this division. You made the division new, you made it fresh, brought in all these new people, brought in all these champions, and now you fucking put on the same fight 4 times in a row. When you got all these guys that can fight, it's so many good fighters at 25 right now, so many, and that have stories, and you find one good fight. It's like when you got a kid and you let them have something that they haven't had before, and then that's all they want to eat. It's so many other things in the world that are great. So many other great fighters in the weight class. I don't understand why. It seems like y'all made this mistake before. You're going to make the same fucking mistake and make it look like the weight class doesn't have talent, make it look like the weight class doesn't have the depth when it does. And so we'll see, man. Honestly, Moreno's a great fighter. Figueiredo's a great fighter, but there are other great fighters in the weight class. So them matching them up 4 times is really watering down. People love to see the fight. Honestly, it's a good fight, but it's not ever not going to be a good fight, honestly. But that's why, you have these guys fight each other a million times. That's why people got tired of seeing Demetrius Johnson fight the same people over and over. You already did this before. No other weight class do they do this shit, and it's annoying. That's my take. Nothing to do with the talent of the fighters, but everything to do with the fact that they're not putting a light on all the good talent in the weight class.
Well, yeah, so the flyweight division we have talked about at length before in terms of the UFC. It's been a decade now, and it feels like they haven't actually made anything with the flyweight division. It's just we need something to throw on a pay-per-view to bring up another fight, but they haven't actually grown talent. I've made the argument for maybe a year now that the flyweight talent outside of the UFC is better than the flyweight talent inside the UFC. If you're looking at Bellator and Rizin and ONE and LFA, would you make the same argument that flyweight's in the UFC, it actually isn't that good?
No, I would say that it's some good talent in there. It's a couple guys that have been there for a while that probably need to be challenged a little bit. But at flyweight, because Bellator doesn't have a 125, they got 135, which is basically
that's right,
guys who were at 125 who fight at 35 now. You got Sergio Pettis. He could never crack the top 5 in the UFC, but he's the champion in Bellator. So it's hard to make that argument. And then one championship, Demetrius Johnson left, and he lost in one championship, but he lost to one of the best 25s in the world, in my opinion. It's no slacking losing to that guy. Adriano Moraes is a fucking animal, in my opinion. And I think the UFC has the best talent as far as promotionally wise, depth wise, everything, but they don't put it on enough. So you think that those guys aren't good. Like, you can go down a list of 10 fighters that are good. And if you think about it, when they recreated the weight class, they created it from champions from other organizations outside of the UFC for the Ultimate Fighter. So it's nothing but champions in the weight class, but you're not putting them on display. You're putting the same fucking, and that in itself it's a disservice to the fighters, it's a disservice to the weight class, and the viewers just see it as, oh, it's nobody at 25. No, it's bullshit. That's what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even a few years ago, it was almost well known. It was almost like a, kind of a well-known fact, that TJ Dillashaw, when he was going down to flyweight, we're gonna, we're gonna kill this division. He's gonna just take this belt, and once he's taken this belt, man, we're just gonna cut this division, man, cut its ties. And Henry Cejudo, man, he saved the division, man. I mean, like, why do you think there's so much disrespect to the flyweight division in general?
I knew that was gonna happen, guys. Like, cause you don't just fucking go down to 25, think some shit gonna happen. You gotta make that weight, bro. And you gotta make that fucking weight. And you ain't gonna fight the same at 25 as you are at 35. I fought my whole amateur career at 135, fighting guys bigger than me, but I was fighting healthy. When I went to 25 as a pro, I had to reestablish how to cut properly and learn. It's been a learning process all the way up to now. I just got a nutritionist for my last fight. So for people to really think they're going to drop from 35. Same thing with fucking Cody Garbrandt, bro. Bring your ass down here. I'm going to knock your ass out too. Like, y'all think 5ers can't hit? Y'all think 25ers can't fight? Kai Car France, I was so happy he knocked his ass out, bro, because, like, it's that disrespect for the weight class. Every fight that the 25ers put on, it pops off the page. It's nonstop action, and it's the most technical you're going to see in all of the UFC outside of the 35ers, who are very similar too. And so, I just like, they say Henry Cejudo saved the weight class, but not really, man. Like, Henry Cejudo, he was a Olympic champion, and he only did what he was supposed to do. It's the UFC who made it seem like it needed saving. It never needed saving. It didn't. It had great talent in it always, but they kept the fighters fighting the same people and putting on the same fights. Just bring in a few more fighters, add different fights. It's that simple. The guys that were in there were great, but you got the same guys fighting.
You made a really good argument there that everyone made it seem like you need to save the division. Why? Like, they made the argument of, like, these guys don't sell. And, like, yeah, you're the promoter. Promote them then. Like, what? They're not selling. Is that on the fighters then? That's on the promoter, perhaps. You know what I'm saying? Actually, maybe don't answer that, because you have to fight for the UFC in the future. Maybe hold off. Now that I think about it. And fuck Joe Silva while we're here.
Fighters have you. I mean, that is true, but fighters have to also. So this is something that's happened in boxing as well.
Yeah,
fighters have to learn to promote themselves, and Jake Paul's done a wonderful job of spotlighting that. No matter whether you like him or you don't, he brought over that self-promotion. And I noticed a lot of fighters, boxers especially, that were all about boxing. And before, they was like, man, fuck them social media posts. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. Slowly but surely, they're doing it because they see it's bringing them money. It brings attention to them. And if they're already doing everything they're supposed to do, it only adds value to what they need and what they want. And so with the 125ers, the UFC, in my opinion, is the best promotion in the world. But also, there's, just like any entity, they got things they can do better. And if people have a problem with someone saying they feel like someone can do something better, then that's a personal problem, in my opinion. At the end of the day, self-promoting is a part of being an entertainer. It's a part of being a professional at this point. And I try to do my best with that. And I can't speak for, but as far as the UFC goes, I do believe they could do a much better job with some things. And, that's a conversation maybe one day I'll be able to have, or maybe I'll be able to have in front if I get to ask the right question, But yeah, I think it's a compounding factor of multiple things.
Now, I want to change gears a little bit, Charles. I mean, after, a big victory, you called out Dana White, and you go, oh, well, not called out, but you asked Dana White, come on, man, where's my shot in the UFC? What happened after that, man? I just wanted to follow up with you, and, what was the situation leading up after that?
Nothing. Dana's a very powerful person who don't really have many time for guys like me. So you just say what you can say, do what you can do, put it in the air, and keep moving the way you're supposed to move. My manager has been in contact with Mick Maynard for a while now. I have one of the best managers in the game, Brian Butler. He has really good connections, and nobody has anything bad to say about him. He's always done the right thing. So,
Yeah.
And Mick Maynard have a pretty good relationship. And so, just keep doing what I'm supposed to do, and just be mindful that everything that you say has a consequence or a reaction. So just try to put it out there, what you want to be, what you want to do. And that's about it. I'm not sure if Dana even saw that, to be honest. It got fight in a month for January and February. But, I based off of his decision making in the Contender Series, I don't know what the fuck Dana be doing or thinking. So I just try to not to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really make sense there because you're finishing guys, man. Like flyweights, there's not a lot of flyweights yet that finish guys out like you do. I mean, in that 5th round, you came out like Super Saiyan, man, like in the last title fight. You were there to finish the dude. What was your thought process going into that 5th round as well?
Exactly that. You're gonna get his ass out of here. That's exactly what I was thinking. It was time because my whole camp I trained. First of all, Coach Joaquin Murcielago has us do 6-minute rounds. So even if we're doing 5-minute rounds, that's 30 minutes, not 25, right? Secondly, me, myself, I'm just a very conditioned athlete, and I know one of my weapons is conditioning. So I just make sure that my tire, I already know that my regular tire out of camp is better than somebody's tired in camp. That's just me. But if I'm doing extra, there's no way this person's going to stop me come 4th, 5th round. So I had already game plan, throughout the whole camp, every time we simulated days, spar days, or anytime simulating fight. When it got the first 3 rounds, I'm pushing the pace, but the 4th and 5th round, I'm especially being mindful of just being extremely aggressive, extremely active, a lot of volume and pressure. And I'm like, there's nobody. And I'm going with different partners. So when I get one person in there for that amount of time, and I'm able to keep this pace like I do with separate partners, keep my volume, keep the same things, and actually pick up the pace, there's nobody in the world at 125 who's going to be able to compete with that. I don't care who it is. It's nobody. And so it's about staying technical, fundamental, and strengthening my jiu-jitsu and my wrestling. But when it comes to stand-up, I'm not worried about anybody in the world. When it comes to conditioning, I'm not worried about anybody in the world. And so my jiu-jitsu is good. It can get better. My grappling is good. It can get better. And I feel really good with it. But, I've beaten 2 black belts, but in my eyes, they weren't black belts. So, like, I've seen guys that I think are better at jiu-jitsu than them, so it's like I don't put much stock into that.
Man, I love that you said you're going Super Saiyan in this round and you finished him. It was such a good fight too. It's on Fight Pass if you haven't seen it on LFA. It was a killer fight, but I want to go down that anime path a little more. You're so outwardly an anime fan. Like even just spending a few minutes on your Instagram, we saw Baki, we saw Attack on Titan, One Punch Man, a bunch of other stuff. Tell us, like, where did you start in anime, and then what are you watching now?
Okay, yeah. I'm actually I'm what they would call a noob. Like I'm new to anime. Everything to me is so exciting. So if I get one, I try to stick with it for at least a season, but then it's always something else that catches my eyes and so much. And so mainly I got into, I always grew up watching anime. Like I was a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan, Pokemon, all that. Like that's anime to me too, right? And so that's Saturday morning cartoons. So every day I came home from school, I'll be watching cartoons, or Saturday morning cartoons. And so then as I got older, like when I got in college, I watched like Boondocks a little bit. I watched, everybody watched Boondocks. I watched a little bit of, Afro Samurai, a little bit, Samurai Jack. That's an underrated to me. Like I like anything that had martial arts, like attracted me. And then, but really, I got into anime when I started watching like Attack on Titan, and I started watching like I started watching One Piece. I'm really only like 160 episodes into that. It's so much.
Only
like,
it's such a huge show.
Exactly. They got like 1,000, right? So it's like multiple seasons, like 10, 12 seasons. So it's like, I'm not even to the current right now. So Baki was new to me. And I really like Baki because they talk about the mental aspect of they talk about different martial arts, and they be spitting like unknown facts and shit, like weird facts that you wouldn't know. You look it up like, oh wait, that's true. Like so that's why I like Baki. It's like it be like, and it's cool. It's like it's fun to watch, man. So and obviously Naruto is like it's like my favorite so far because I've literally watched all of Naruto. I'm not really gotten into Boruto too much. I've watched it, but Naruto has been my jam too. So arts, anything martial arts, like in anime, man, it's just so creative, and I'm a creator. You know, I love graphic design. I've been doing graphic design since poke around Photoshop since I was in high school. So I always love art. I always loved coloring as a kid growing up. So anything to do with art, I just like creativity. I've always latched onto it, you know, and like as you see on my walls, you know, so like I've always latched onto it. And like when I was in Thailand, I started like doing like making music because I always wrote. I always did like I like poetry. I was attracted to. I would go to like open mic nights and just sit down and listen. I never really got up there, but I love going to open mic nights, listen to poetry. And so like I always was a writer. And then when I got to Thailand, I just started putting it to beats and started making music, started making songs. I didn't make beats, but I will find them here and there. And I got friends who make beats, and being from St. Louis is it's a rap city. It's a, you know, so it's like, I'm around it, surrounded by music all the time. You know, we all go to music to find a special place sometimes, you know, so it's always a part of your life. So for me, it just became something bigger.
Was that a good outlet? Because obviously during, you know, you were stuck in, well, not stuck, but you were in Thailand during the pandemic. Did you use all these things as an outlet? Because, you know, everyone was going through some, you know, everyone was just struggling during that time ultimately.
Yeah. COVID was it was a wonderful, disastrous time, right? So I'm in Thailand. It's a beautiful place. It's an island, you know. It's beautiful, but it's very tough, you know. And so being able to go to my room, open up, it was something I could do. Like I was like, I would make a song in like 40 minutes and go to practice and listening to it on my headphones while I'm riding my bike to practice, get to the gym while I'm poke around, listen to what I did, fixing it in my head, get out of practice and go work on it some more. And then like, you know, like it just gave me something to keep myself, you know, moving, I guess.
But let me look it up. You got a SoundCloud, you got a Bandcamp we can plug for all the listeners?
Yeah, but I'm not putting that out there yet. Not.
All right. We'll leave it at that. We pulled a Nardwuar on you. We dug a little deeper. We looked at some of the people you're following, like some of the greatest rappers and musicians in history. People like J. Cole. You're following Mos Def, of course, or Yasin Bey, Lauryn Hill. You have great taste in music. What was your influential music, and what are you listening to now, man?
All those people that you speak of, I listen to old school, new school, you know, all of that. So right now, I haven't been listening to anyone. I've actually been like making my own music. And so it's hard to, I try not to listen to other artists when I'm like in a creative mood because I don't want to take too much, you know. But, you know, I like a lot of things with a message, things that make you feel. But it gotta have some rhythm to it, you know. So obviously J. Cole is like my favorite, you know, but he got his own inspirations or whatever, but J. Cole is mine. I attached to him a lot because when the first time I heard him, I was at UAPB and I had lost my scholarship, and his mixtape was out, Friday Night Lights, and that came out. And one of the basketball, it's a D1 school. I would always go with the basketball players. We'd be playing 2K, and he was playing it, and he was from I forgot where he was from. I think he was from like Texas or somewhere, but or from Memphis. And he was like, man, I was like, who is that? It was like, J. Cole. You don't know who J. Cole is? I was like, nah, man. It was like, bro, you gotta listen. I was like, yeah, let me hear that. And then I was just hooked from that moment on. That's all I listened to. I can still pull that up and verbatim, each song, So it I don't know, man. I like KRS-One, like that type of vibe, because KRS, he always spins some knowledge, and it's just like guys that can give you a message, but then you can go and learn from them too. I like that type of music.
Say, like, how is it training with like killers like Pierre Yan, Volkanovski, the rest of those guys at Tiger Muay Thai, man?
Yeah, I got to train with Volk for maybe 2 weeks. Not really like train with him personally. Like I did a couple grapple rounds with him, and like he's cool dude. Get a couple stand-up rounds with him, but he would be out there just to start his camp mostly, like a couple weeks, get himself in tune, and then he'll go back to city kickboxing. Mostly because the only reason we had access to those type of guys from city kickboxing is their relationship with George and Frank Hickman. They carried on that relationship because they did tryouts with him in 2014. So a lot of the city kickboxing boys would come through, like Brad Riddell. He come through, spit some knowledge, teach the class here and there, get his camp started. I never ran into Dan Hooker or Izzy out there. I don't think they were out there when I was there, but it was just a blessing to be able to go with guys that level of experience and just competitive, Petr Yan is a special individual to me because he can do everything fairly well, but like his stand-up and just his mindset, the way he attacks training, is what makes him successful. So I could see a lot of things within myself and him. And I think the reason why we gelled, like he didn't talk much English, but like you can just tell when you gel with someone on a match. Like we never had any like issues, and I sparred with him at least 10, 12 times while I was out there, maybe a little more than that. Just actual rounds where like he's getting ready for Uriah Faber, or he's getting ready for Marlon Moraes. But he tailors his camp. You learn. You want to go with him a lot, as much as possible, but he has to tailor his camp to depend on his matchup. So when he was getting ready for Marlon Moraes, I didn't really get to go with him as much because he wanted to focus on technique. So he was going with the Glory kickboxing champion, Anissa Maxine, and her coach, and just doing a lot of technique things and working on stuff. And so like me, I wanted to go with him, but I didn't get to go with him as much at camp. But Peter's a special individual and great athlete and just hardest worker, he shows up on time, ready to go, and yeah, you just learn from guys at that level. You see what type of work you have to put in to be successful and to stay successful. And so, yeah, man, Rafa Fitzsiv, like that's my boy too. Like just one of the coolest, funniest guys, young too. So like, it was good energy in there.
Now going on Pierre Yan, obviously he's going to be fighting Aljo again in a rematch. I'm not going to ask you who you think is going to win. I mean, that's a bit of an obvious question. What do you think his keys to victory is in that rematch?
Stay out of grappling transitions. As long as he's not caught up in too many grappling transitions, he should be able to do whatever he wants to do. He has a few of his training partners are really good wrestlers though, and so I think he'll be fine. He's like stand-up wise, he's gonna fuck Aljamain up in my opinion and do what he wants to do. Aljamain likes playing distance and poking and throwing up stuff here and there, but Peter does a good job. Me and him fight so similar. We get better as the fight goes on because early we're just downgrading you, figuring out what you want to do. And then as the fight goes on, we take all of that away and we beat your ass. So that's just what's going to happen. In my opinion, Aljamain will have to put on a pace and make it grapply, gritty, dirty, boxy, and like as many grappling transitions, just keep going, grapple. Don't make it a fight. If you make it a fight, you're going to lose. Like if you make it a technical stand-up fight and you try to be something you're not, like you can do stand-up, Aljo, but not like Peter is just, he doesn't have the tools to beat Peter on the feet as much as he does if he grapples him and forces him into burning his tank sooner. And then you see what you can do 4th, 5th round. So, yeah, but I don't see Peter getting tired either. So he's pissed off. So we're going to see. Is he a very in shape, very motivated Peter. And hopefully he fights himself and not too up frustrated, you know. But I think he'll be fine.
Man, it's working with folks like this. Petr Yan, he's coming into this fight. He's motivated. He's looking good. You've worked with Khalil Rountree Jr. in the past, correct?
That's my boy, that's my Brody, man. I love that dude. I got a special my heart.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what the question was. Is that he seems like if he is in your corner, he's your best friend. Tell us, like, he's a supportive guy, I imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's his own guy. He's had his own battles, and you can see that. But he's very, very authentic. He's gonna tell you how he feels and do what's best for Khalil always. Because he's been in a situation where people didn't do their best for Khalil. So he's gonna do his best for Khalil always. And so, but the first time I met Khalil, I walked right up to him. I was like, "What's up, bro?" I shook his hand, you know, and I just started a relationship with him from that moment, you know. And I could go on all day about him, you know. During COVID, you know, he came up to the gym. He usually on his own routine, right? Khalil's here. I'm like here trying to work to get there. And so I would ask questions. He's always open for questions, always anything. But like I'll pop in at his place where he lived with his girl Mia. You know, I'll hit him up beforehand just to be sure, you know, it was cool. But it's just a genuine person, man. What you see is what you get with Khalil, you know. And it's very few people in the world that I like, you know. I really want to like. I'll just like, bro, if I could be around him more, I'd be around him, you know. So.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you could tell from that post-fight interview, man. He's there to help people, man. And what I really like, he left himself vulnerable almost, man. Like he just laid it out all that. I mean, he's always been like that, or you know, since you've known him?
No. You're not gonna like Khalil's not he like with the people that he loves, he's like that. Like with the people that he know, he like that. But the people that don't know him, you're not gonna know nothing's wrong with him. He come show up, do his work, do what he's supposed to do, you know? And so I was so happy he did it, honestly. I was so happy. He didn't do it like, I'm going to do this. Like, it was genuine. And that's why people saw it and they felt it, you know? That's the Khalil I know, you know? So I'm excited he's in a really good place, you know? And it's just going to be nothing but good things coming for him, which is deserved, in my opinion. So, yeah,
absolutely.
And you got guys like, I want to speak on this, man. You got guys that are in the UFC that they're building up a brand of being like city people and stuff like that, and they think it's cool.
Yes.
But they really lame ass fuckers to me. They just lame people that they're the type of guys that beat up their girlfriend and then kiss another girl, and then the next day they're back with their girlfriend and tell them they love them. You know, like it's like, dude.
I was gonna say, what did you think of Sean's comments? Because I wasn't gonna ask this, but yeah, what did you think of Sean's comments on all that on Khalil Rountree?
I think he is what he is. Just like he takes pride in being an asshole, and people like that, like you don't want to be around. It's not good energy. It's not good. Like, yeah, they get their rocks off by making shit tougher on other people or talking shit on other people, you know, like, I guess that makes you feel better about yourself, bro, but you ain't shit, bro. You ain't beat nobody. If we talking professionally, you ain't beat nobody, and you might end up beating somebody one day, but the legacy that you're building won't last, so nobody gives a fuck.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's a very polarizing character, Sean. But yeah, I'm gonna.
People think it's funny. Some people think it's funny. Some people think it's entertainment at the end of the day. So it's gonna rub some people the right way and rub some people the wrong way. For me, I don't fuck with that, you know. So that's just where I'm at. Like, I'll see him. I'll be cordial. What's up, you know? But we'll never be cool. We'll never be boys. It's really like fuck you. You know what I'm saying? Because you know you feel how you feel about Khalil. So like you don't even know the man. You ain't never, you ain't, Khalil's the type of person when he's in camp, he's going to get the work where he needs to get the work. He has shit planned out. He has exactly who's going to work with, what he's going to do, what he's doing this day, what he's doing that day. If you don't fit in that, you're not going to get it. That's it.
Yeah.
But I just see immaturity when I see Strickland. You're a grown ass man. You're too grown to be that immature. So that's just me.
I just think he just says ridiculous stuff, man, just to piss people off. But it's the weird one with Sean, man. You never know, man, what you're gonna get with Sean. But yeah, changing gears a little bit, Charles. Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to you about, is it Steeple Racing? You were doing that for a while. Tell me about that, man. I was like Googling that the other day. I'm like, I didn't even know this is a thing, man. But what is that about?
Man, everybody asks me about this shit now. It's Steeplechase is a race on the track that has, similar. They call them horse. It's a horse. It's similar to what the horses used to jump over and what they do jump over in their races. But it's about this thick, and about arm length wide, a little bit longer than arm length. And it's about 3 or 4 of them stationed on the track. One of them has a water pit, Yep. And so when you go over the steeple, you got to push off, get enough distance because the water pit is built like this, where it's deeper, closer to the steeple, and less water as it comes back up into the track. And this is the track, you're going around the track. So this is the water, this is the steeple, right? And so, it's a dog race. It builds up the lactic acid in your muscles real fast. And if you're not training properly, you're gonna hit a few of them, do a couple barrel rolls, probably won't make it through the race. And so it takes extreme conditioning, it takes a certain mindset, and it takes, obviously technique like everything else to properly go over the steeples in a way where you can continue running properly. So it's my favorite race because it's something to do on the track, and I used to run a lot of laps on the tracks.
the racing again, yeah. How did that kind of translate, into MMA training? Because obviously you run and you jump and explode. Like, how does that help?
So it wasn't necessarily the race. It was the mindset of being a track athlete. I was a track athlete from the time I was 7, and it was a process. I wasn't shit at first, and it took time for me to be good at it. And when I was about 8, 9 years old, 10 years old, my dad started putting me in middle distance race. And then when I was able to finally run the 1,500 meters, which was the longest race at the time for me to run, I was about 11, maybe 10. And that was when I finally made it to AAU Nationals. And so my sister, on the other hand, when she was 8 and I was 7 when we started, she won Nationals her very first year. She was an elite athlete. Like, she was so athletic. And she was just good at everything. And she did the pentathlon. And so she won the pentathlon. And they were like, who's this girl? She was super tall. Like, who's this girl out of nowhere? Like, it was our first year. And people all over the country were like, who is this girl? And my sister, Jantel McNeil, she won it her first year doing track. She won the pentathlon. And so she just came out of nowhere and was just a super athlete. But for me, I had to kind of, grind. I was always the smallest guy. And so I'm 5'2", 98 pounds when I was 15. So I was always small, but I had her to compete with, So in my mind, I was always trying to get to a place where people saw me too, and they just didn't see Jantel's brother, right? So, when I was finally able to make nationals at the 1,500, and I was able to carve a niche out with distance running. And I found that mentally I could be in any race for as long as possible. And I found joy in, like, the longer the race went, breaking people. Like, I would draft everyone off their hip. And when it got to that point in a race, whether it's the last 100 meters, last 150 meters, or it's the last lap, 2 laps, I'm pushing that pace and I'm gone. You're not gonna beat me. No one ever beat me at the end of a race, ever. So, like, that's never happened, even in college. If it's the last 100 meters, no one ever passes me. If it's the last lap, no one ever passes me. So it's like, I'm going to get whoever's in front of me. And so that mindset from track, and then finally running cross country when I got to high school, I was naturally good at cross country from running the mileage and track, AAU track. And so 3.1 miles was a lot for me my freshman year. I was like, damn, that's a long race. But, by the middle of the year, I had it down. And by conference time, I got all conference. I made it to state, first person in our school in over 20 years to make it to state in cross country, and over 50 years. And it was just, for me, it was just natural for me to just compete at those type of things that challenge your mind, challenge your body, and other people break. I like breaking people.
So it seems like that life in track has really influenced your MMA career, because it seems like in your fights, in the first round, you're having a close fight. And by the fifth round, you're in a different league than some of these guys. You're outpacing them just like you were in races. These must have like 1-to-1. This must have led to each other. Yeah. How did you start in MMA? How did you make that step to this sport then?
Yeah, I was never a martial artist, but I also I started box. So, I saw boxing on TV. My dad would play the old fights and stuff. And I like Sugar Ray. I like Sweet Pea. I like all type of boxers in that era, in that weight class. And so Floyd Mayweather, obviously. And then, I was like, I want to box. I had a fight with this kid in school I never told my parents about. And I lost in the bathroom. And then I wanted to box when I got home. And I played football. We had a football team. We went undefeated our 7th, 8th grade year. I played basketball. I played all these different sports. But like, I don't know. I guess I started learning I was an individual athlete, and I really wanted to latch on to that. And I didn't really like the aspect of team sports because I wasn't that big. And so when my parents told me no to boxing, they put me in wrestling. And so the coaches who coached me in that were the coaches who were at my high school, Richard Bly and Coach Henricks. And so it's just that transition from wrestling, I like most things at that time, I just became naturally good at it. I have a good attention to detail and I learn fast. And I remember what you teach me. And so I got really good at wrestling pretty fast. And I was on varsity by the end of my freshman year. I had about an even split season with wins and losses. Took more L's than wins, especially when I got moved up to varsity. But my sophomore year, I made it to state. My junior year, I made it to state. And my senior year, I made it to state. And I finally got all-state my senior year. Probably would have been all-state my junior year, but I was wrestling in the wrong weight class. I was kind of wrestling up because they implemented the weight changes that year with the water weight. And so obviously I went to college for cross country. After I graduated high school, part of me always wanted to wrestle. But like, as I said, I ran track my whole life. So I'm gonna go with what I love and what I was a national champion at and why I got these Olympic rings on my back, And so that was the decision I made. I was like, my dad was my coach my whole life. And I kind of felt like I'd be letting him down by not doing track. And so I went with track and field and cross country because we had built, me and my father built up a lot. Like when you talk about St. Louis track, to people who are a part of St. Louis track, they know exactly who he is and they know exactly who I am. And so what brought me to MMA was me losing that scholarship, like I talked about earlier. After my freshman year, I failed biological science twice. I'm stubborn. I didn't study much. I was always smart enough to pass every class without studying, not doing much homework, get A's and B's, maintain a 3.1 cumulative in high school without doing anything. Took the ACT, got a 20 without studying. So I never really studied for anything in my life. I just kind of did it, And so I got to college with the same classroom etiquette, right? And I ended up failing biological science because, partially, I had 2 foreign teachers that didn't speak English very well and I couldn't really relate to. And so I had to really do the studying in the library to actually pass these tests and stuff. And I went to UAPB, is an agricultural school. So they have fisheries, things like that. And so science is kind of needed, right? But it's a little harder than I feel like normally. And I failed that class twice and I ended up losing my scholarship. And when I got back my sophomore year, I passed that class with a B. I had to take out a job. I got a job and paid for school. It was out-of-state tuition. And then when I got back home after my sophomore year, my buddy Ken Porter at the time he had about 30-something amateur fights, close to 50 by the end of his amateur fight career. But he had won many amateur titles. And so he told me he needs somebody to wrestle around with to get in shape. He had a title fight coming up in Kansas and against this guy named Billy Benz, who was known for knocking everybody out, right? And so he was like, man, I just need somebody to grapple with me, get rounds in, bro. Like me and KP had been around Ken Porter had been around each other enough, like outside of school, because like going to parties and, just like, you know, we're getting street fights, you're getting things, you're getting stuff, right? And so, you know, I can handle myself. So he just like, just come on, bro. I'm not going to, you know, I just need a body. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I go with him for about a week and a half. And then he's like, yo, do you want to fight this other guy on the card fighting at this weight class? You know, his fighter backed out, and like, you can go down with me. You can fight too. And mind you, all I had to do was hit the bag in his mom's basement, kick the bag, learn how to kick a little bit, and learn a triangle and arm bar, kinda, you know. And I was like, shit, let me talk to my dad, man. Let me talk to my pops, you know, and I'll let you know. I was working at Walmart. I took a job at working at Walmart, throwing trucks. And so I was pretty strong at the time. And, you know, it took like 30 minutes, and I called him back. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll take it. I'll do it, bro. So I rode with him up to Kansas, Missouri, and I fought this guy. He was number 7 amateur at the time. It was my very first amateur fight. He probably had about 4 or 5 amateur fights. He was a stand-up guy, stand-up fighter, and so I just took him down every round, ground and pound. You know, I got extremely tired, extremely fast, and I was hooked. Like I said, it's something that pushed me. It changed, like, my arms. I couldn't punch my arms. I was like, bro, I ain't never been this tired in my life. What the fuck is going on? What is going on here? And so, but I mean, I messed that dude up. And so I was hooked after that. I was like, I want to learn as much as possible, you know, on YouTube, playing around with him. And so, like, luckily he was cemented enough where he was able to guide me enough my first 10 or so fights. And then we started poking in at this gym, St. Charles MMA, on the weekends when I had time on Sundays to go out there and spar. And that's when I saw real MMA. They had guys in the gym like Andrew Sanchez, they had John Stamp, and they had sorry, I'm getting a call here.
Okay, I was like, man, no, it was mid-story.
No,
Keep going.
We get to a good spot, man.
Yeah.
They had Joshua Sampo and Alp Oskalich, who let me message this person real quick because I'm gonna keep calling.
No, that's
no problem. No. Yeah,
this is my lady.
I'll bring her on. Bring her on the show. Send her the invite.
Man, she's in Sweden right now. I mean Norway.
You're in Norway?
Oh, you're in Norway at the moment.
You're in Norway?
She is. My lady lives. Okay. I met her in Thailand. She lives in Norway though.
Oh, sick. Okay, keep telling the story though. So you kind of see MMA for real, yeah.
This gym on the weekends to spar. I could only go on the weekends, but he had moved out to St. Charles and was living in an apartment out there. And so he would pick me up and take me out there. And during this time, I had a lot of things going on. I had a rough go with my family. I was kind of homeless for like 3 or 4 months. And so, you know, he really, like, on the weekends, he would pick me up and I would spend the weekend with him, and we would end up at St. Charles MMA for sparring. And so, man, I got to see real killers in there. Matthew Ricehouse, Alp Oskalich, Joshua Sampo, Andrew Sanchez, Jake Collier, all them guys floating through there during that time. But a lot of them, actually, that's where they trained. And so it was a jiu-jitsu school. Alp Oskalich and Josh Sampo both got signed by the UFC within the same month at 125. And they were like, they're elite grapplers. Like, to this day, there's nobody who's grappled with me who's the toughest guy seen than Joshua Sampo. He's like brown belt, legit jiu-jitsu black belt, but also like extremely good wrestler. And so, yeah, I got to expose to real MMA. And this is the time that I met Josh Augustine. And Augustine was still in high school. He was a few years younger than me, but he was big. And so I got to go with him. I was 20 years old. He was about 17. And Lucas Clay, who's also going to be fighting for the LFA title here soon, in a few weeks. He was also, those were my main 2 training partners I got to go with when I got out there. And just, man, it was a process to get to where I am now, I'm going to say the least. And I had to find a balance in between trying to be able to learn to fight, but I also went back and finished my college career with track. So I couldn't fight at all. I couldn't train, couldn't fight. I would come home in disguise and have fights, not having trained, you know, amateur fights, obviously. And so, it's been a process to get where it is. And it wasn't until 2015 where I was able to really focus on MMA. And that's when I actually became a mixed martial artist, in my opinion. I got my blue belt and I was able to just do MMA when I got done with college. And I went pro in 2018, signed with Iridium. And I was one of Jason House's first guys. And then, here we are today. And so I'm very proud of my journey because it's been earned. It's been a lot of YouTubing, but just also the teachers I've had in my life. I've been blessed to be around people who actually were good teachers. I didn't get with anybody who was just like a hack job but I don't think I would have been allowed myself to stay around that either. I have a good idea of what I should be around from being around my dad. So, that was basically my journey to becoming a mixed martial artist.
Charles, that was better than a lot of TED Talks I've heard. Like, you were kicked out of college, you lost your scholarship, you were working at Walmart, you were hitting a bag in some guy's basement, you were homeless for a bit, you're picking up girls from Norway and Thailand. Man, like, that was a story and a half. But one thing I wanted to ask about is, your parents didn't want to put you in boxing, they put you in wrestling. Obviously, your father is extremely important to you. Your family is very important to you. What was your father's reaction when you went into MMA? Or did you keep it a secret for a while? What was that conversation like?
Well, obviously, I asked him about taking that fight, so he knew I was poking around it. But my mom, for instance, like my biological mom, I haven't lived. I didn't grow up with her from when I was 4, but my stepmom, I call my mom, and I still have a relationship with my real mom as well. But my stepmom, who raised me, she's very about books. She's about, she wants to know that everything's going to be okay. So she wants me to do something that's going to be, that I'm going to be able to take care of myself. So she didn't like the fight. Like, where does this end? Where does this go? And my father, and then she doesn't really like watching it. Even my title fight, she comes, she supports, she sits at, she handles my table, everything. But when it comes to the fight, she can't watch it. But then when she hear people yelling, she's like, "Oh, what happened? What happened?" And it's like, "Oh, okay." But she loves me, but it's just hard for her to grasp all of the fighting. But she plays her pivotal role, right? And so my dad, on the other hand, my dad's from DC, the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. He actually went to TC Williams, which is where Remember the Titans, that school. And so my dad grew up in a time where, they went to the rec, they had fights, it was just a different time era. So like, he liked the fighting. He liked the fact that I was doing something, but he wanted me to get back into school during that time, which is why we were having our issues with me and my parents, because they wanted me to, they saw most of my life, we prepared you to go to college and get this education and be good enough to where you don't have to pay for college. Well, when I lost my scholarship, I kind of went against all of that. Right. And so it was a tough time where we had to really grow as a family, me and my parents, and we had to grow apart for a little bit to try to figure out what I wanted to do, what I love to do, and what I wanted to do moving forward. And, them to really see who I was now as an individual. Because my sophomore year, I changed a lot, I worked off campus. I worked at a JCPenney full time. And I also did graphic design and part time to try to make a little extra money. I wasn't on scholarship. So I'm eating, it's not good. It's not fun. Right. And so you got to figure things out. And that's one thing that I bring with me to this day. And I say it all the time. I figure it out, and I created my moral compass, which is my 3 Ps, which is prayer, positivity, and perseverance. And I just got my own guidelines that I keep myself focused on, I've always been able to tune everything out and know what I need to do to focus to get to where I need to get to, and understand what my end goal is. And so my dad, he was kind of excited about it, but he wasn't, because he wanted me to finish my track career. And he always felt like, we did so much together. He wanted me to see that through, because I did have the times and stuff to really push and become better. And maybe one day get to the Olympics, the real Olympics. But because I had the heart and the drive and the work ethic, but for me, I didn't see a place where track was for me. I love track. I will always love track, but the profession, I don't love the profession of track. And when I saw fighting, I loved the profession of fighting. I saw Dominic Cruz fighting, and he's became my favorite fighter, still one of my favorite fighters. And I just drew to his mindset and related to that. And then I was just like, yeah, I want to do this, you know? And then once I get my mind on something, nobody can talk me down. So
that leads me to, you know, another question. I mean, very, very related to what you said. I mean, obviously you're very close with your family. And I've heard this, you know, from a number of people, you know, chasing the goal of being an MMA world champion. It can be very isolating, you know, it's very much a journey when you're on your own. Is that the case for you, or is it completely opposite? I mean, have you gone through that ever?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time alone, man. This journey is a motherfucker, I tell you that. But you got to embrace every part of it, and that's one thing I've really been working on. I'm not gonna say I'm 100% all the time good with it. It's something. It's a work in progress always. But that's life, you know. So I just try not to be too hard on myself, and I try to, you know, keep good intention with everything that I do, and I think that that's what sees me through most of the hard times.
Yeah,
I got stories for days, man. I got stories for days for like different things, and we all go through adversity, right? And everybody's adversity is my adversity is different than another man's, and so yeah, that's just what it is with that.
I mean, like there was also another thing, and that kind of touched me, man, because I'm a big dog lover. So I was going through your posts, and like obviously you had to rehome your dog, yeah, before
Yeah,
you went into Tiger Muay Thai, man. I mean, how hard was that? Like, cause
yeah,
that was pretty tough.
that's what this is right here. That's my boy.
Is that what's that?
Yeah, it's the chain that I always wear. You see all my pictures, all my everything. I always have it on. This is my first dog tag. When I first got him, my dog was a rescue. He was on the side of the highway, and he came to me by a blessing from a friend's mom who I ran track with growing up. She worked at a precinct close to Southeast Missouri State, where I ended up at college at my last 3 years. And so she picked him up. She made a social media post, and then me and my ex, who's a fighter now, she just fought on LFA, Brittany Cloudie. We picked him up, and he's just like my road dog, like my favorite. Like I love him more than people. But yeah, that was definitely a difficult thing, and it was a part of my life where I wasn't a very selfish person most of my life. And like most of my fight career, I was coaching high school wrestling. I was doing other things. I coached high school wrestling for 5 years until I went to Thailand. Just till I made that decision to go to Thailand for Tiger Muay Thai is when I was like, it's time to focus on me. Which was 2019. After I lost to Brandon Royval, I was just like, man, I'm doing too many things. I'm offering too much of my time. If I really want to make this a reality, I have to really hone in on some things, and I got to cut back on some things. And you know, rehoming him was just a part of that process. But I've still have a good relationship with the family that he's with now. Their dad actually comes to my fights. He was at my last years, you know. So whenever I'm home, I try to go visit. And so
yeah, that's adorable.
Yeah. That's my dog, man. I love that dude. Like I was like, man, I don't know if I'll be ever get a dog again. And then my teammate who I live with now, they have a pit bull, and her name's Zoe, but they just yesterday picked up another rescue for their second dog, a smaller dog. And I'm just like, I just love dogs now. I'm just like, I don't know if I'll ever have one again, maybe in the future, but yeah.
Man, it's so funny. We in this industry, we're so used to people having to be so like tough and on edge all the time. But like I was interviewing Darian Caldwell a little while ago, and he was like mean mugging. He's like, man, I'll fight Floyd. I don't care about anything. I'll beat up Kyoji Horiguchi if anyone wants me to. And then I asked about his dogs, and he was like, oh man, I love these dogs. If anyone wants to come fight these dogs, like
I love that.
Yeah, bro. Anybody can get the smoke. Anybody can get the smoke. But when it comes to them dogs, man, hey.
It's all love and positivity, right? Just like you said prayer, positivity, and perseverance. Did I get the order correct?
Yeah.
Man, awesome stuff.
Put it up on my walls, man. And I had to find my own little guideline when I lost that scholarship. It was a very tough time, to say the least. That year and a half, 2 years for me. But I'm very thankful for my journey, man. People, so like everybody got something to say, you know, about anyone here and there, and I see a lot of critics about me, and I don't take a lot of things to heart. And I see guys coming on my age within the sport and things like that. I just feel so young, you know. It's like I had an injury that kept me out really outside of my AC joint, and for the most part, you know, I feel like a kid in this sport. Like I'm learning constantly. I'm always evolving. I'm always getting better. And because I started late in my life, I feel like that just makes me even more dangerous because I got so much to learn. Like you guys don't even understand. I don't have access to anything. I'm still grinding. I'm still making a way to make this shit happen. So when I get access to the UFCPI, I get access to more money and funds and nutritionists and things. What the fuck y'all think gonna happen then? Yeah. I'm gonna go hyperbolic time chamber and come out and kill you motherfuckers. So that's how I feel. That's why I'm not really worried about anyone. I don't really speak on what anyone else can do. I speak on what I can do. And I just try to recognize greatness in other people and what I can take from it.
Beautiful, man. I was gonna say, so like say for example, hypothetically, you know, they give you the call up. What's the flyweight name you've got in mind, man? Who would you want to take out?
It don't matter, bro. I don't care who I fight. Honestly, I know my first fight is gonna be my toughest fight in my whole UFC career because it's gonna be in a position where they not putting me in a position to win. And that's sad because I'm a champion, but that's the reality. So I can't sit here and throw a pity party. I just can prepare as much as I can, and just wait for that last minute 7 to 10 day notice, you know, and see what happens. But whoever I get for that first fight, if they do win, but don't hold your cards too close because you're probably gonna have to see me again. And but I don't think that's gonna happen at all. And as far as fighters, man, like I just want to fight, man. I just want the opportunity to fight the best guys in the world and see what I can prove to myself. Because I feel like 3-round fights are harder for me than 5-round fights. They got a different mentality. They ass is scared of 5 rounds. So if I get to 5-round fights, it's over with, you know? So it's just going to be about managing those 3-rounders, fighting smart, fighting aggressive, winning, you know, just winning. And I don't want to build up to a fucking championship. I want to go for whatever fights puts me closer to the championship. I want them. And so I don't want to fight down here and build up. No, man, y'all already don't build up the fucking weight class. Give me whoever, whenever, wherever, as soon as possible. That's how I feel about it, you know. And after that next fight, as long as I'm healthy, same thing, as soon as possible. Let's get it. Like, it's not about anything other than winning. And once you get there, they don't care about anything else. So I'm okay with that.
So you just fought a couple of months ago. Let's say 1 year from now, where's the pride of St. Louis? Where do you see yourself?
Hopefully pushing for a title fight, if not already having one. Feel like my timetable can be happen very expeditiously, right? I feel like that can happen fast, you know. So it's just about what happens once I get an opportunity, how soon I get that opportunity, and how active I'm allowed to be. Because if I have it my choice, I'm gonna fight every fucking month, you know. So it's about how active I'm allowed to be, and hopefully the politics don't hold up too much of me getting to the people that I should be able to fight. Because like I said, in my opinion, it's a lot of great fighters in the weight class. Everybody's good, in my opinion. It's just they haven't gotten a chance to show it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we asked this in every interview, and I just forgot we actually forgot to ask you. I mean, we like to ask the anxiety question. Do you ever deal with anxiety? Is anxiety a thing for you? We get varying responses. Some people go, "What's anxiety, man? That's nothing. Like, that's nothing. It's a fight, man." Other people, they go, "Yeah, like I'm a bund of nerves. I go into the cage, man. But when the cage door closes, it's a fight, man. I'm here to fight." How do you deal with anxiety, or is that even a thing for
you? I'm dealing with anxiety right now, like, cause I don't know when I'm gonna fight. Anxiety for me happens when I don't have control, a fight is something I can control. So I don't really have much anxiety when I'm getting ready for a fight and I'm training for a fight and I step in the cage. It's nerves. It's always nervousness, but I like nerves because every track event where I did my best or I did better than expected, and every moment I showed up for it, and I had those nerves before it. And so when I won a national championship, when I beat my PR, when I beat my PR, I almost broke the national record. Like, I had nerves before that race. You know, when I wrestled the dude, my last wrestling match in state to place fifth, I lost to that guy at sectionals. I was the number 1 seed. He was the number 2 seed. I lost to him at sectionals. I beat him at state, my very last match. I rise to the occasion. And so anxiety for me is about things that I can't control. Heights, airplanes, getting stuck in the middle of the ocean or something, you know, like things out of my control is the things that cause me anxiety. My family members worrying about if they're okay, if they're healthy, if one of them gets sick or something. Those type of things cause me anxiety. But when it comes to fighting, it's about when you're obsessed with something, I feel like you don't really have anxiety about it, because you're just so in tune and focused and working towards that thing that, like, anxiety kind of goes into doubt, which creeps into fear, which creeps into negativity, which creeps into loss. You got to stay on the positive end of that, which means you got to keep working, you got to stay positive, you got to just keep pushing towards the things that get you to that end goal. And so anxiety is definitely a part of everyone's life, but for me, and I would say for me, it's for things that I can't control.
So that's an interesting point, yeah, because we spoke to Frank a while ago, Frank Shamrock, and he actually says he finds peace in fighting. Is that the same for you? Do you actually find peace? Is complete opposite, you know? You're not anxious, do you actually find peace when you're in that cage?
If it's going good, yeah. I think for everybody, when the fight is going good, it's peaceful, it's fun, it's going. But every fight is different, you know? And so you never know what's going to happen in there. And you got to prepare yourself for that in training and every day. And so I think my nickname is the InnerG, right? What comes out in that cage is me. And so I embrace whatever is in there. If I got to cry walking into the cage, if I got to let some emotion out, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, I know as long as I have an emotion, that means I'm present. You know, if I'm emotionless, then I'm not moving. I'm stuck. I'm finna get fucked up. You know, I'm not here. I need to be present. So I need to feel some type of emotion. I need to feel something. And so when I'm fighting, you know, it's for me like, okay, this scenario in my last fight when I was gonna fight Motta, I'm walking to the cage, I'm listening to the music, kind of tuned into the music. Once I walk into the cage after I get greased up and I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, he looks away, I'm still looking at him, he looks at me, he looks away, he looks at me. I'm like, okay, I'm in this moment, I'm in tune. And then announcer starts announcing him and he does this thing. I've seen this 100 times. I watched too much film. I already knew what was going to happen. But he's tired. Look at him. He felt that shit. He ain't ready for this shit. And I'm thinking like, then he starts announcing me and I'm thinking, I was saying it to myself, you're the only one in here. It's time. It's only you. It's only you. It's only you. Because I'm around, I hear my family, I hear my sisters, I hear my friends, I hear my coaches from high school, I hear people that see me compete in track, everyone yelling, everyone, let's go, CJ, let's go. You know, like, and I'm like, but you're the only one in here. I have to remind myself of that because a lot of people in that moment, they're going to forget that they're going to get in a fucking fist fight. And so for me, I'm like, it's time. This is what everything you've been working for. And it's like, you're the only one in here, you know, and fight starts. And after that, it's just whatever you've been doing is what's going to happen. Whatever you train yourself to do is what's going to happen. My whole life, my dad was coaching me while I was running around track. He yelling out at me, so I had to listen for him. So when I'm in a fight, I can hear everything. I can hear everything. I can hear people having side conversations. I can hear announcers. Half my fights, I talk to them. So it's for me, it's about being in a moment. When I came back from Thailand, I said, I got to have fun with this shit. I got to be in the moment. I got to be present, but I got to be in there, and I got to enjoy what I'm doing.
Man, Charles, it is so great to listen to you. And you're not going to believe it. When we get into these good conversations, time just flies by. We got 5 minutes left in this interview again.
That's good. That's really good.
So
yeah, time all day, like I said. So if we keep going, I like answering questions. So it's whatever for me.
Let me wrap it up here. But there, Tim Wheaton, CalfKickSports. We got ashmma.cks. But Charles, shout out who you need to shout out. Where can the folks find more of you?
Yeah. So I'm just now starting to get into YouTube. I haven't posted much, but everything is at InnerG MMA. That's YouTube, that's Instagram, and Twitter. Twitter is kind of lacking always, but as we get into the UFC and those numbers are gonna shoot up, so everybody just follow me at those. If you feel free to comment, I try to comment, speak back to people, be personable. I'm not a bot. I'm a real person in real life. And so, you guys can message me anywhere at any one of those places, and I'll try to get back to you. And, shout out to my management, Sucker Punch, Brian Butler and Brian Hamper. And to all my sponsors, I appreciate you. All my sponsors are pretty much people I know in real life, local businesses and big businesses, and they all really care for me and they believe in me. And so all my sponsors hold a good place in my heart.
We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Charles.
All right, boys. Appreciate you.